Okay, so lab 24 is dealing with just permissions. So I actually already have all of my machines started. But the first part of our lab is let's go ahead and create a user in our Active Directory. That way we can assign just specific permissions to that user. So we're going to call this user vUser. And we're going to give them our typical password. Again, this is my lab environment. So I'm actually not going to allow the password or the user to change password or expire, because again, this is just my lab practice environment. Okay, so once we've done that, we'll have our new user here. We're going to go ahead and hop over to our VC. I'm going to maximize the screen so that we have a nice big view. Start up Starwind, make sure our iSCSI is showing connected, and it is, that's good. Next, let's go ahead and log into our vCenter. So, Lab 23, we created a cluster. We never actually removed everything from the cluster, and so we're going to have to do that. So how we do that, we're halfway through our lab time, so you may get a license expiring within a month. That's okay. So what I've noticed is it just happened to be that right when we logged in, the license expired. That's why our hosts went non-responding. That is not the case. Go ahead and remove our hosts. I've noticed that with clusters, they are a little bit more particular about how they function, and so it should show disconnected. It will actually remove from the cluster once it's done, because once they are done, our cluster will be empty, and I'm going to go ahead and remove our cluster. I'm going to go ahead and re-add both hosts. It should be root and our lab password. I'm going to assign it one of the keys that we have. I'm going to add the second host as well, esxi2.vita.local. And the host should add pretty quickly. I've noticed the second host sometimes kind of lags, so you kind of have to be patient. If you try to move too quickly, you may get a... Oh, that's because I faffing at the password. If you try to go too quickly, sometimes you might actually get messages that say something like, go slow, and it will connect and our hosts will be there. So once that part's done, we can actually go ahead and move on to the assigning specific permissions to our new vUser. Okay, so our hosts have connected back. So if you have the issue where the host disconnects again, I've noticed this again. Right click, reconnect. Oh, there they go again. I've noticed this eventually starts happening, and I have not been able to figure out why. Yeah, they will just randomly connect and disconnect and reconnect. So once we see them, we're going to go ahead and open up our web client, because for certain permissions, it's easier to show you through the web client. And while this guy logs in, single sign-on should work. We're going to allow the connection. So I want to make sure they did not disconnect again. So I'm going to go to vCenter, and there we go. We see two hosts, we see our data stores, we see our data center. We are good to go. So we're going to go to permissions. To do that, we're going to go to our data center, right click on it, and permissions should be there. But notice they are not. Select our vCenter, go to manage, and permissions. Certain versions you can right click on it, certain times you can't. So here we go. Here's our permission user list, users and groups. We can add our users there. So let's go ahead and add our vUser. You notice it's not there. That's because our domain is vita.local. We actually want to change that to our vita domain. The other one was the local machine, not our vita. Okay, so these are our domain accounts. So let's go ahead and go down. Oh, there we go. vUser. Click OK. We actually want to change access to read-only. That way they can log in, they can view things, but they cannot change anything. They can only read. Go and click on OK, and let it do its thing. Okay, after a second or two, it should pop up, vUser, read-only. Let's go ahead and log out. And let's log in as our vUser. vUser at vita.local. And there we go. Our vUser can log in, but we can't change anything. We have just read access. So let's go ahead and verify that. I actually want to go to a host, and they're still disconnecting. Okay, because of this issue, I'm just going to do it through our C client. And I'm going to go ahead and you notice that we can't even remove them. That's because we're logged in as our vUser. He has only the permissions to view, nothing else. So I'm going to go ahead and log out, log back in as our Vita administrator to go ahead and fix this issue. Now we could also create custom roles and permissions within our vSphere. My infrastructure keeps disconnecting, so I am actually going to go ahead and stop this video here so I can power cycle everything. Okay, so I believe I got that fixed. So when we log in, we're going to go to administration, and we're going to set up some new custom roles. So from here, we're going to go to roles. You'll notice that we have 3 roles: no access, read-only, administrator, and then we have several sample roles. So I've noticed on the exam they like to ask questions pertaining to these. So let's go ahead and add a role. We're going to call this role template deployer. That way he can, template, not template. That way he can actually deploy templates. So we're going to give him the permissions to data stores. Not all data store, just allocate space. We're going to give them access to network, and that is to assign a network. We're going to give them access to resources. Next will be resources. We want to be able to assign a virtual machine as the resource pools. We want to go to virtual machines. We want to allow them to add under configuration, add a new disk, add or remove devices, memory. Next, we want to back away from configuration, and we want to do interaction. We want the ability to select all privileges. Kind of dumb there. We're going to scroll too far. Under interaction, we're going to select all of them. Under inventory, we're going to go ahead and do create from existing. From provisioning, we're going to deploy from template. We're going to read customize. And we're going to allow customize. Okay, those are the permissions for our new temp deployer. And there it is. The goal here is to provide just the correct privileges for the person to be able to do their job. And next we'll go ahead and assign permissions to an object. So we're going to go back home. We're going to go to inventories. We want to go to VMware and templates. We actually want to be able to assign certain permissions. My web interface is kind of laggy. Okay, there we go. So, I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder. I'm going to call that folder temporary VMs. Hi, did that kind of wrong. I want that actually underneath training. Okay, it does not like temporary VMs underneath training, so we'll leave it there for now. So from here, we're actually going to go to our Vita. I already know we're in the correct spot, but manage permissions, and here are our correct permissions. We want to edit our Vita/vUser, so we're going to go to the pencil. Now we're going to change it to our new role, temp deployer. Propagate the children, click OK. What that will do is it will assign those permissions to everything underneath our vCenter. And that's as simple as permissions. The goal here is to be able to do it in such a way where you're giving the correct users just the appropriate permissions to do their job. Normally when we do this, we do not want to do groups or one account for a group. Our goal here should actually be individual or unique logons. That way we can actually track who's doing what. And that's it for this. Thank you guys.